He's got the thing up, so maybe if I just start, he'll realize that we've started. Uh, no, it's still showing daylight savings time, right?
Yeah, why conserve motion? Don't overreact.
We must have done a conference call. I missed the last conference meeting.
That's right.
There's that.
Or is that phone line for that?
Oh.
Is it phone line or Ethernet for that? I thought it was Ethernet for the phone.
Don't know.
So did you find out if that was a recurrent problem with that property? The gas at Moselle over the wall dumping? We had that right before.
Um,
Yeah.
it has been, we've had recurrent issues, yes. But I don't know if it's that specific property. Because I don't know that we have a,
Usually there's two in the back.
do we have an address on that, on
I
that?
did. It's in my report.
Oh, it's in your report. Okay, I have to go back and look.
Maybe it was.
Okay.
We used to just do one, I think. It was in a letter 4 years ago or something.
There you go. Turn it on.
Remember something?
All right.
Closer.
What are they now doing? Just yard. Yard.
Debris.
Yeah.
My neighbor does that to me too. It's really interesting.
These are the two addresses.
All right, so maybe if we start, they're watching. Because he's got the screen on. Oh, yeah, he's ready. All right. Okay. Welcome to the Thursday, December 13th, 2018 meeting of the Conservation Commission. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, would you please do the roll call? Present?
Present.
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 Present. Present.
Okay, and we will start with the approval of the minutes from last month's meeting on November 8th. Did everyone get a chance to review those minutes? Are there any edits or additions that anyone would like to propose? We do have one spelling, yes. Okay, thank you, Sue. Hearing none, I will make a motion that we approve the minutes from November 8th. Second. All in favor?
I have to abstain. I wasn't here.
Oh, me, right. Oh.
Abstain.
Approve. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Abstain.
1, 2, 3, and hate. 3. Okay.
Okay. Well, I want to welcome Melissa Sharples. It's great to have you here, and thank you for becoming part of the Conservation Commission. And I don't know if there's anything you wanted to share about I know you've been a longtime resident of the town of Newmarket.
My family has, yeah. I have owned my home here for about 20 years. I've been traveling for the last 11 years, so I'm back and here to stay, I guess.
Great. Well, we're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
Did you get a chance to meet everybody?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but we can deal with that.
We'll do that, okay. Why don't we start with the treasurer's report then? Anne, did you have any updates for us?
Guess what? No, the software is not done yet. And Carol has said that hopefully January she will have a report for us, but she has nothing.
Okay.
She hasn't, and she's shorthanded in her office now, so she's going crazy right now. She's not able to do it.
But the only thing I submitted was the $10 for the handbook. I did submit that, so it should show up I'm not aware of anything else that we had recently submitted for payment, but we will have one other cost for attending the statewide conference that
Yes.
Marion has to submit. So there's that. But other than that, I don't know of any other outstanding things that we've submitted. So, okay. Casey, Town Council.
Not too much to report from the town council, but in terms of resolutions in the first reading from our prior meeting, which I was unable to attend, there was going to be, in first reading was the issuance of a $2 million municipal bond for the McClellan Dam. So I'll be in second reading on the 19th of December, and that's for dam construction and improvements.
So they've gotten a plan or a proposal from an engineering firm, or
For the most part, and they've kind of narrowed it down to a few possible options. So the $2 million bond would cover the construction and the finalized plan. The McClellan Dam Committee is a little bit behind in terms of my understanding, so I think they're not going to be finalized until late February, early March with where they want to go. But this is just to make sure this gets on the ballot in time for the town warrant. So that's why it's being put on there now. And my understanding is the $2 million is slightly above, just to build in a buffer in case they need that flexibility. So yeah, I'll know more about it after our next meeting, December 19th, though, so I can report back in January, a little more detail, I guess.
because most of it's related to the control of the dam in essence, right? It's not really that there's going to be a higher dam or a lower dam. It's more about controlling flooding automatically as opposed to having someone manually have to do it. Isn't that one of the biggest
and they're
issues
using
that
the
we're...
airbag system too, which makes it a little bit easier to control, and it doesn't get clogged up by ice quite as well, or quite as easily. And the other issues were kind of the surrounding properties. One of them is owned by Fish and Game, so there was a couple of proposals that would rely on a little bit of give from Fish and Game. We don't know if that's going to get approved or not yet. In terms of there's potential space for a small park, and that may or may not happen once we get to the finalized plan.
Is there any change to the fish ladder?
No.
No change to the fish
No
ladder.
change to that.
Well, Sarah's not here to give us an update on the planning board. I did go to another storm water meeting, so that's moving along, and that's just to give a brief note on that is, that's as the town moves to comply with the EPA MS4 regulations, which regulates stormwater in Newmarket has been designated in a sort of urbanized area. So with that designation comes the requirement to adhere to those stormwater regulations, which are much more strict about what can be outflowing from our water treatment plant. And that will be a big project, and I know the town's involved in some litigation around that as well. Yep. So we'll see what happens with that. All right. So on the chairman's report, I have a couple of things to report on. I will start with what happened shortly after our last meeting, which was the trip out to the Rosa Pit. We do every 3 years. We go there and basically review with the landowner their use of the pit, what they're using it for, to make sure it's in compliance of what it's supposed to be used for. And also to add to that, there was a sale pending on that. So I went out there, met with Wayne Rosa, got a tour of the pit. There isn't a ton of activity out there right now, and a lot of the land has already been reclaimed. And it was interesting because we had I attended at the state conference. This Fish and Game actually had a whole presentation on former gravel pits becoming wildlife habitat. And I would say that if you looked at the pictures that they presented in that seminar, their part of the pit looks exactly as they describe it, and so it's actually looking pretty good from that perspective. And in terms of, it's sort of a mix of grasses and pine trees, and it's actually, they find it to be a very good habitat for turtles and other reptiles. So I would say they've done a nice job in that part. And then the other part of the pit that's still being used, they have a rock crushing operation out there. So it's not materials that are from the site, they're materials that are brought to the site, and then they have grinders and they crush it up. And I believe that is the primary use that the new owners will also be using it for. Then they've also do accept some fill. So that's just sediment, doesn't have any, it's not supposed to have anything in it, obviously. So recently they received some of the fill from the excavation of the school, the middle one, elementary school had, having a new gymnasium built, so they dug up a lot of, and so they have some of that out there. I don't know who the new owner is, but they do look to be a little bit more of a larger operation, so I guess we'll learn more about that in terms of, they have a lot of equipment already staged out there when I went to walk the property with Wayne, because like I said, the sale was just pending the approval, and that approval went through. So I anticipate that sale also closed. So there'll be new owners, but the Rosa family did a good job adhering to regulations while they had that pit. So I did comment on that in my report, that I thought that they should be commended for, they were residents of the town, and I think they took their responsibility out there pretty seriously and tried to be good stewards of that place. And I think that was good, that they were people from the town and that had that thought in mind. So I wish them well, and I hope we can have as good a relationship with the new owners as we did with them. Any questions on that? And I shared that report that I wrote with you guys. And okay. Another thing that came up was, and I don't know how many people, I know Drew will remember this, but a number of years ago, the Conservation Commission appropriated about $10,000 to help pay for a culvert that would be installed, a box culvert that would be installed at Loverman's Creek, that goes through the Nature Conservancy property out on Bay Road, and that has gotten funded finally, so that they can actually complete that project. They got funding through, I know the Regional Planning Commission was involved in it. I don't remember all the funding sources that they got, but the good news is that it will be done, I believe, next year probably. This is an area where there's a lot of flooding on Bay Road. If you've ever gone by there when it rains a lot, it just washes over the top because that culvert's very small. So this will be sort of a big box shape with a natural stream bed at the bottom, so it'll be good for both passing the appropriate amount of water in the creek when it does have a flooding or raining event. I think it doesn't take that much rain for that to flood now. So I think they showed the picture that I saw was from earlier this fall, and it was over the top. There was an event just in this rainy period we had. So so that's great that that's finally going to be completed, because that started a number of years ago, and I'm good to see that will be finished. All right. We are still waiting on the Dearborn property survey. I just wanted to follow up because the resident from 202 Grant came to our last meeting and commented on some markings on the trees on the border of her property and the Dearborn property. I did reach out to the state, and they assured us that they had nothing to do with any additional markings on any trees. The only markings they used are their white boundary markers that are similar to ours, like little white oval plastic ones. Those are the only ones that they use, and they didn't do any spray painting. So I don't know if it could have possibly been our surveyor. We don't know. We haven't talked. Drew, you haven't talked.
I haven't reached out, no.
Yeah. So I don't really have an answer on that. I just wanted to report back to you guys. I did look into it a little further, and I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect it is, because we did ask for, blazing, which is basically spray painting the boundary.
Okay.
So, very likely to be Scott.
Okay. And does that usually last very long on trees, or will it eventually sort of wash away?
It wears away over time, yeah.
Okay.
But
All right.
it takes multiple years.
Okay. I will reach out to her and let her know then that that's more than likely what it is.
But didn't she mention there are also tide colored markings on the trees that are not the paint, but were tide
Flagging.
Like surveyor
some
flagging.
type of
He may have used
surveying
both.
flag. Maybe we could just call Scott, should we?
Yeah, I'll give him a call.
Thanks. So one of the things I talked about last time was looking at our website. So what would be really helpful, I think, is if all of us could just go out. Has anyone had a chance to go out to other? Did you do that, Sam? Thank you.
We had done some work, my company, for the town of Lincoln a few years ago. But I had looked at their website at that time and kind of revisited it. I can show anyone after what we're looking at. But they have maps that you can get of all their properties, which I think has a lot of value to know not only kind of where they are, but just generally what the boundaries look like, if there is any trails on the parcel where they are. The other thing that's not expressly on their website, but I've seen on others too, is also just denoted uses. Like, can you bring your dog? Can you hunt on the parcel? Things like that. Like, I know when we moved to town, that's what we tried to figure out, is like, oh, there's a field there. Like, can we bring our dog? I don't know. So, information about just what these parcels are, what they look like, who owns them, who maintains them. I think that has a lot of value, and their maps aren't overly complicated. I think all the information is available just through Granite and basically the publicly available layers. So.
Okay. Well, that's what I would like to hear, is just everyone maybe going out and taking a look at some and coming back with some ideas about, if you had a wish list, what would you want to see on it? If you really like a site that you see, if you could reach out to somebody at that conservation commission and just say, did you guys do your website, or did you hire anyone to do your website? So that we could start to gather some possible vendors for doing this, because I don't know that that's something we can expect
Right.
the town to do. So we might have to pay to get it set up.
Are we looking for, in addition to content, are we looking at usability as well?
Yeah, ideally I would want something that's fairly easy to use, so it's fairly easy to maintain. That, as Sam was saying, provides the basic information, at least about the properties, what you can, where they are, what can you do on the properties, and a basic map that kind of gives you some kind of help. And then some of the ones I've been looking at have little blurbs or information that's seasonally related. Some of them I've noticed. It definitely, you can tell some of the towns have more support. They might have some professional staff working on their sites, because they seem to be updated. I know, for instance, person who a lot of us know is Ellen Snyder. Now she works over for Durham part-time, doing a lot of administrative work for them to that end, to that kind of stuff. And I think that's why their site looks pretty good, I think, too. So, and then once we do that, we could gather all that information up and maybe talk about possibility of contracting with someone or getting bids, I should say, because I'm assuming it's going to be at that price point. Any other thoughts or questions on that?
I work in that industry, so I can help
Oh, that would be great.
when the time comes.
That sounds good. We need help. Okay. Again, one of the ideas that Chris and Marianne and I kind of chatted a little bit about coming back from the conference was the idea of doing a photo contest in 2019 for conservation lands in Newmarket. The idea being we would offer some prize. People would take photos, submit them. We would judge and then award a prize to somebody. And that way we would both promote conservation area and also, get a little publicity maybe that we could do to promote.
Maybe we could have a showing at the mill.
Right. They have said in the past that they would be, there could be a place to display photos.
Yeah, I'm picturing, since then and since the preliminary idea and because of some aspect of my job, I've gone to a couple of photo contests. One notable was that the Messianic Audubon Society had a Sunday afternoon thing that was really nice, very sedate, very community oriented, really, really well done. And it had some food, but an advantage of the mill is the wide array of types of food and drink you can have, so you could really have it feel like a reception. And weirdly enough, today I've been at a photo workshop all day at Wellesley at Mass Hort's Gardens at Elmbank, right? And different people there were talking about their towns and some photo contest ideas. And what really struck me is the opportunity we have to really do a launch of this photo thing and have really some solid information and ideas out to, for instance, the art department at the high school and to the senior center and through Park and Rec, because the after school programs are always looking for something for kids to do, and seniors are always, not always, I shouldn't say, there's often opportunities to make small field trips or go with small groups of people or get a couple of your friends together to go do something. So if they knew this was coming, it could really be a push, like, I don't know, say we're doing it in month 9, whatever that is. In month 5 or so, really put information out there saying this is coming, so think in your spare time or your hobby time or put some focus on this event. I think we could really have a community thing happen at the mill space rather than you happen to schlep down those stairs. It shouldn't feel like, oh, those stairs, well, there's ice cream down there. It should feel like, ooh, I'm going to the mill for this event, similar to this feeling I got from the Audubon Society. I think we have a chance also to think about the idea of a contest. So you could have a People's Choice thing. So that day at this reception, there's something going on. So the people who are there interact with the photos and say, ooh, this was a great one for high school age kids. We could have age groups under these pictures. So it would flow like an art show, but within that, it's like, oh, that was an elementary school kid. Oh, that was a high school kid. Oh, that was, a citizen, adult, whatever you want to call it. I think we could delineate it that way and really get a bigger, not bigger, because I don't know how big the crowd would be otherwise, but I think we could make it feel like a municipal kind of an event. That's the sense I have after seeing a couple of these that I've gone to and after talking to people today down at Mass Hort Society.
It's very inspiring.
Yeah, well, it was fun to think
Yeah.
about, what's something that doesn't cost any money. Nowadays, it's no money. I mean, even if you just sent your picture to Staples to get printed in 8x10, it's $1.02 or something, so, and then I know I tend to get out of hand sometimes, but I was picturing we could have in this launch, we could have a talk by a photographer at the public library maybe, saying, hey, this is coming. So it could be somebody saying, did you know you could do this and this and this on your smartphone? I can tell you from my heart, I was dazzled today at learning some things that my phone can do. And I feel lucky that I've won a couple of little nature, not little, but I don't mean little. There were small scale nature photography contests, and there were things on the phone that I didn't even know I could do or could have thought about. It was so cool to go somewhere and have somebody say, try this. Oh, think about that. And that made me think like, ooh, that's another way to get more focus on we're having this show or this contest, is to say, here's an evening thing or a Sunday afternoon or whatever that a photographer could come and give a interactive workshop. Bring your smartphone, bring your iPad, bring your device, or bring your camera and get some tips about composition, let alone some tools and how to practice using some of those tools.
Be perfect.
And it's no money or small money to have a person
I say,
come talk.
let's do it.
Yeah.
There's a Seacoast Photographers group that rents space in the mill as
Yeah.
well, and they're part of the Seacoast Photographers meetup group.
Yeah, I think we can have some, I mean, those are the kind of people I think would be interested in helping, let alone participating. And that's something, I mean, we should really think about this. Is it gonna be you have to live in Newmarket, or is it just pictures of Newmarket conservation properties? We have some nuts and bolts to hash out here. Or there are two categories. There's amateur, professional. How do we wanna delineate this? Cause it's at first glance like, yeah, send your picture, and then it's like, whoa. What's the limit? 2 per person? Like, how are we gonna do
Do
this?
you have anything from any of those other organizations
Yes.
that you could
I have quite a
bring
bit,
that
actually.
we could kind of use maybe as a draft to sort of come up with some parameters? I think you're
Yeah.
right. That would be the first thing, is to kind of nail down what we want to offer or what we can.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to reach out to the mill space to find out about, what is entailed in various things. If we wanted to just display, what would that be? If we wanted to display and have a show of some kind of, get some prices, because they do charge to rent the space out there, so we'd have to.
It's tiered because we're not nonprofit,
Right.
so it won't be a regular kind of a price.
So I'm willing to do that part. Would you be willing to take on the part of at least getting us some sort of rough
Yep.
outline that we could
I
bring
could
to
meet
the
with you,
Yeah, let's do that.
and anybody that wanted to, we could.
Yeah.
We could. Are we allowed to do that?
I think if it's more than 2 members, it's.
Oh, then it's we could call it a workshop though if we met somewhere like this, right? I mean, if it's
Yeah.
more than you and me, we can't just go to Michelle's. It has to be
Right.
like a workshop, and it might
Right.
end up being you and me anyway.
Okay.
But
We'll do that.
Okay,
Well, as long as it's not a quorum,
so that's
so it can be 3.
3 up to
Up to
3.
three.
does anybody want to join us? Because I think it could be really good to get this. We need a timeline. When do we think this should even be?
Spring.
That's too soon, isn't
Is
it?
that too soon?
Well, I don't think it's too soon to launch the idea, to tell people this
launch
is
it
going to
is,
come, and then
not
it
have it.
culminates like, I don't know, Columbus Day weekend or
Yeah.
something.
Say in the
Is there
fall.
already something in town going on at some time in the early fall that could be a cool time to
Yeah.
do it?
Well, the other idea of having it so it could capture multiple seasons, so if
I was just
we
thinking
could
that.
Yeah.
come up
Seasons.
with, get it off the board in the first part of the year, people could do some winter,
Yeah.
spring, and
Yeah.
fall.
So we could launch it, so to
summer.
speak, in
Yeah, yeah.
February, and then have it be culminating in October, because then you could still have winter, spring, summer, and
Right,
fall pictures.
right.
What could be cool too, and this is just kind of building off all those great ideas that I'm hearing, is that I think like a social aspect would be nice for sometime in the summer when there's a lot of daylight. You mentioned like a photographer at the library, or like maybe a little field trip to some of the closer little
Yeah.
venues, and we'll spend the photographer does a little talk saying here's how you can frame your shots or whatever,
Yeah.
and then we do just a little swing to like the local areas just to
Yeah.
highlight getting people there, because the photography is a huge part of it, but like getting people to these locations.
Getting
that-
the people there
Yeah.
is
That's a
huge.
good idea.
so like we kind of, and then it's a fun. It could be a fun social event behind
Yeah.
it to get out.
Right,
or
right.
someone.
And if
So-
you ended up at a local place downtown, you ended up together downtown. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Great. Okay, well, we'll look forward to hearing more from you, and I will reach out to the mill space to start figuring out what some of
What
the
could that
costs
look
would
like?
be, yeah.
So this groundwork report will be for January's meeting?
Yeah, that would be great if
Okay.
you could do that.
Yeah, we
so
can.
we'd be looking at, let me give you the exact date of that so you kind of can plan off of that. Let's
Mhm.
look at
Nice.
January.
Melissa's gonna join us.
So
Yes.
that would be January 11th. So does that sound reasonable?
It sure does.
Okay. Alright.
Would it be worthwhile if I could ask around about potential transport options for maybe an event in the summer to see if there's any way to swing like transportation one way or the other?
Yeah.
Great idea.
So I'll ask around and find out what's available or what's reasonable.
Yeah.
See if you can get the trolley.
That'd be awesome.
No, that'd be awesome,
awesome.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, a little like summer afternoon or evening, whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
kinda Cool.
Okay, so that's great. Thank you, Chris, and
Yeah.
Marianne, and Melissa for volunteering to work on that. One other thing that we'll have coming up maybe this winter, depending on the weather, is last spring at Silver Liberty Day, we built up some great big piles of invasives that we cut up into
Oh, the
pieces,
piles,
and the ideal thing would be to burn those this winter. But we kind of want some snow, not too much snow that it is all on top of the pile, that you can't light the pile on fire. But if we get snow cover, we'll try and do that. So if we do that, I was thinking we could announce that as a public thing, so that way people can show up and everybody who wants to come from the commission can come, and it's open to the public, and we just say on such and such a date, clear it with the fire department obviously, and just say we're going to burn these piles. Public is welcome to come if
Don't
they want to
panic
see
if you
it.
see smoke,
Yeah,
just come
yeah.
join the fun.
And that way.
Whoops, I should've shut my phone off.
Okay. All right. Then we have some old business, and we've kind of already talked about this. We're still pending on the Dearborn survey. So there's really nothing to report on that. Still waiting on the Heron Point Sanctuary. We don't really have an update on that gate, do we?
A little bit, and I can email out pictures. We finally got approved from Eversource for the electrical. So if you've been past recently, they actually the town contracted electrician, I think it's Martineau. They put in the meter. So right now, if you go over there, you can see the meter, and they couldn't put it on the post. So there's maybe a 4-foot separated meter. I'm not sure if they've finalized it, but it's up. And they also have an electrical outlet running to the gate. So the next step is really just leveling out the gate and getting the piston in that opens and closes it. So there has been progress for sure.
Good.
I don't know if it'll be. I don't know if it's gonna be finished before spring, just because of snow and stuff. But
Okay.
there's been headway for sure. So
All right.
and I'll share those pictures with the commission.
Thanks, Casey. Oh, that is progress. So that's good
Mhm.
to hear. Monitoring reports. So Sam and I went to Silverman Shear at Neal Mill Road, and we're joined by the property owner who purchased the property that was the Silverman's property before, and we walked the boundary. The only area that we didn't go really in depth in is I would say it's the northeast corner where it meets up with the Cassock River. It was sort of like a sheet of ice basically in there, and it's very brushy in there to begin with. We didn't venture into that area. It just didn't look safe, really very safe to go in there, so we did avoid that area, but everything else looked in good shape. Didn't see anything. The property owner did share with us that he is going to has commissioned a comprehensive forestry report for the property, just so that he is, sort of staying within the bounds of the easement agreement, but also just looking at, from his perspective, is there something I should or shouldn't be doing? He's certainly not looking to make any harvest on the property, of any kind. It's just more of a management issue. He'd identified some invasives that he was looking at. Nothing too big though. And I thought was great. He expressed interest in maybe trying to help maintain that cemetery a little better. So I told him about the cemetery commission would be the people to talk to about that. But other than that, nothing really. Anything to add, Sam, on that?
No,
So
man.
I have to finish typing that report up. But yeah, no, I thought, and the issue that we had before had been cleared up. There's really any update on that as far as there was a small encroachment area on the exclusion zone, and that there's been no additional encroachment on that since that happened. So it's got a lot of rock out there on the property. So if you know anyone who needs rock. I know Drew sent out an email saying that he was looking for someone to join him.
I'm thinking
this,
of doing that.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, Saturday morning at 9.
Saturday morning at 9, park at the Audubon parking lot, and then at 9 just meet there at the Audubon parking lot.
Yeah.
How wet is wet?
Some
I'll be wearing rubber boots.
That's
We have to cross Follett's Brook twice.
Okay.
So
Fortunately, it hasn't rained.
thankfully it hasn't rained
Be
much lately,
frozen.
so that part's good. But if stuff froze when the water was high, there might be weird ice. I mean, generally with rubber boots, I stay dry.
There's a lot of water last weekend.
But yeah,
Frozen though.
It was pretty wet when we went.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to thaw actually the next couple of days. So
I saw
it-
that.
40s.
Yeah.
It's gonna rain this week.
but it hasn't rained so much, so it probably depends on how much it rains.
Rainy.
But the first part of that hike is, I think, some of the more difficult terrain too, a little bit, right when you start out there at the beginning, you're hiking on that
yeah,
stone wall.
Stone wall.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's so.
There's a lot of down trees in that area.
It's an adventure.
It is an adventure. It was my
It's
first.
cool property though.
It is
Yeah.
very cool,
That's the-
and you know it so well.
yeah.
So
Yep.
I'm gonna try to be there.
Okay.
Sounds good.
For monitoring reports, I did get a chance to get out to New Roots Farm.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't
great.
finished the report yet. So Sarah Finch and I went out. We walked it with the dogs. Things look good over there. I was in contact with the property owners, but they were unable to join us. Everything looked good, especially the boundaries. The only thing that wasn't that needs to be addressed, and again there was some snow, so I didn't really get a full view of it. But the property owner, and then from my observation, was that they hadn't hayed it in the fall, so it's a little bit long, but it's not bad by any means. But the property owner just said we'll get to it when we can. So other than that, it was good. I just need to finish the report next week.
And we received a report from Selt, but this is not the Hilton property. This is the Dodds Family Trust property, which they really have the relationship with that group. We don't have any interest in that property at all, do we, Drew? That I'm aware of. I believe that the Dodds family worked with Selt directly to have the conservation. I think this is just a copy they send us just as an FYI, but it's not. We don't have an interest on the property itself. We don't have an ownership or an easement over the property, but it is the property that is at the head of Neal Mill Road, basically, right?
Yes.
Is how you might describe it. So, just Glenn Dodds is someone who many people know in town too. So. Alrighty. So I don't have anything else on monitoring reports. I have that outstanding issue though that we talked about. I have to address with a letter to the landowner from your monitoring report still. So I have not done that yet. So and we kind of talked about planning for 2019. I think the website and the photo contest. I think that's more than enough, unless anyone else has.
There's one thing.
Oh. Go.
Well, I would like to distribute flyers on what we can recycle, what we can't. There's a lot of confusion still in the community about what to put out, and so I would like to pass out flyers.
We should probably put something in the Friday town hall bulletin, right?
It's
been
in
in
there.
It is, but I
There's-
think
Yeah.
people, to Marianne's point, I think people get immune to the graphic. You get it on your phone, it's like, yeah, there's the Santa thing, that's this thing, the library thing, da-da. And even though it's there, it's not the same as a news paragraph. And the paragraph can say, watch, where do you shop? Watch for these flyers. And where do you, and if you took flyers to, for instance, maybe it's too politically incorrect. If you had some flyers at the various pizza restaurants, since that's one of the biggest bugaboos.
The pizza boxes I saw on recycling day.
And once there's a pizza box, the thing is history. They don't stand there and take out the pizza box, and so that these other 49 cans and bottles can go, whatever. It's not how it works.
I mean, I was going to just grassroots go out and
I think
pass
that
them out.
I think that's important because I think there has been a lot of public messages from energy, environment, town council. It's been mentioned and it's been broadcast, but I think people are they assume that everything that's cardboard is recyclable. So like
Yeah.
there's so like when I can run when it's warmer weather, you look at any of the bins and they're full of stuff that would be contaminant. So we're throwing away a lot.
I know.
Which really adds to then the town's paying for it as waste and
Right.
when you throw the whole bin away.
Yeah.
Because they basically, if there's one piece of contamination, the whole bin
I
goes
know,
to
it's
trash.
sad.
One piece
It's
does
sad.
it.
Yeah.
So what if
Maybe
I
that's
look
the
on?
message we need to spread.
What if I look on the website and look what we have, and then kind of draft like a flyer, and then bring it for January?
And some of the local restaurants might be willing to even have the flyer up in their
I think
places
that's a
too, 'cause
great
there's-
idea, Chris.
Yeah, I think the
Yes.
grassroots thing is what needs to be
Yes.
done because the broadcasting is just it's falling.
A
on deaf
lot of
ears.
people
Yeah.
don't go on the website even.
Yeah,
So okay,
I think grassroots would
great.
be awesome.
So I'll do that for January.
So, is there still a committee there was a committee that was looking at recycling for a while?
At
Is that-
composting.
and composting.
Recycling has come up too because we're at the point that glass might no longer be viable to have recycled. So we're trying to stay that way, but it's becoming increasingly more expensive. So energy and environment's looking at composting as a way to defer. The recycling issue is, especially with China now, has become difficult. So the town
I
is
saw that
anticipating
documentary.
some type of a change that will have to occur with recycling.
And shouldn't that change from single stream to maybe dividing things up again so that the cardboard and paper and the plastic, they're all separate, and then they can just eliminate the ones that aren't profitable?
Yeah, and our administrators is looking at possible ideas, but the biggest driving factor has been glass is becoming undesirable now. Some towns use CGA. It's crushed glass aggregate
Yeah.
or whatever. But there's not many that have those facilities, and then we'd have to find some way for us to get it over there.
Deliver it.
To
yeah.
deliver it. So glass is the big issue, but I know our administrator is looking for ways to. I think the general desire is to keep recycling, even though the cost is increasing. But we got to figure out how we can make sure it's actually being recycled.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I also wanted to just share this with you guys. You probably remember when Moody Point Community Association came and spoke to us about their request for their permit to work on their stabilization of their bank. So that was approved, so I can pass that around if anyone wants to see that. And then we also had, and I forget his name and I apologize, the gentleman who was building also out in the Bay Area. his solar array.
Oh, right,
Um,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was also approved, so that's those who, if anyone wants
I
to
wondered
see
about that one.
That's believe all I had in the TPS front. Again, we have the handbook that we purchased. It's gotten good reviews from those that have read it. Is there another person who would like to have
It's
this between
excellent.
now
It's really,
and the next meeting?
it's well worth it, to tell anyone.
I would like it, but not
a lot of
this session,
information.
between now
Yeah.
and this meeting, we got
Okay.
a lot
We got a lot to do.
I actually
Oh, and then there's
if
that
nobody
Christmas
else
thing.
wants, I have time that I could actually get to it, and then
Okay.
between now and next session, so I would
All right.
Oh, yeah, you can have finals all done and you are
School vacation.
coasting.
That's
There you
good.
go.
Now you have an answer for what you did
I
on your
know.
school vacation. Okay. Does anyone have any other items they would like to discuss tonight? Do we have a motion to adjourn then?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?